Untitled Chapter review today. As always, you're going to have a couple of vocabulary. I want you to look at the next section where it says to list the next four multiples of the unit fraction. When it's asking for multiples, are you writing all the unit fractions, or what are you writing? What does it mean by multiples? Raise your hand, Aiden, please. Elena. Okay, so whatever you're doing is your multiples of the numerator. So you're going to make sure that you're going across in multiples of the numerator. Okay, you're not just going to put 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8. Do you understand that? Yes? Okay. The next section says to write the fraction as a product of a whole number and a unit fraction. So you have to have a whole number times a unit fraction. That's what that's meaning. Okay, we've done lots of those also. And then you have next four multiples of the fraction again. So multiples again. Make sure you're reading these little words in here. So you've got product of a whole number and a unit fraction, and you have multiples. Then you have write the product as the product of a whole number and a unit fraction, but you have something different. Look at these problems based on these problems. See the difference? Still going to have something that looks similar as an answer? Yes. Okay. Then here all you have to do is multiply. Then here you're going to multiply and write the product as a mixed number. So make sure that you're turning this back into a mixed number. We've done all of these. These are all skills and concepts that we've learned in Chapter 8. Next two pages are what? Test prep. If you need work, you have plenty of space out here to decide to do it. Some of them may need it, some of them may not. Turn to the very last page. We're going to discuss the constructed response questions because you may see something similar to these on your test tomorrow. Let's read number 26. Oliver has music lessons Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Each lesson is 3/4 hour. Oliver says he will have lessons for 2.5 hours this week. Do you agree or disagree? Explain your reasoning. So your question is whether or not you agree or disagree. And what did he say that we have to agree or disagree with? What's he telling us that we need to look at, Cheyenne? That he will have lessons for 2.5 hours this week. What else are we going to be using to figure out if he is correct or not? Eden? So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are important to us. We have to know how many days he's doing that, right? What else? Eden? The 3/4 hour, which is for each lesson. Okay? So let's think about that. He has a lesson on Monday, and it's going to be how long? 3/4 of an hour. Wednesday, he's going to have 3/4 of an hour. Friday, he's going to have 3/4 of an hour. So what kind of expression or equation could I draw or write for this problem? Because I have to figure out if it's going to be 2.5 hours or not, right? Bailey, what am I going to do here? Okay, so we're going to take 3 times 3/4. 3 comes from the amount of days he's going to have lessons. 3/4 is how long he's going to have each lesson for. Okay, so when I multiply, what do I get? 9/4, which is also 2 1/4. So look at what we just received. Here's your answer you got. And this is what he's saying. That he will have lessons for 2.5 hours this week. Is that correct? So we're going to say disagree. And what do we know about 2.5 and 2 1/4? Well, besides that they're not the same, let's use a comparison sentence. Morgan? Okay, I see that. But can you tell me which one's more and which one's less? And use it as a comparison statement? How do I do that? Elena?
Is less than 2 1/4.
No, 2.5 is not less than 2 1/4. There you go. So 2.5, and we can use the greater than symbol, is greater than 2 1/4. So just remember which one you say first. 2.5 is greater than 2 1/4. You could have changed it around and said 2 1/4 is less than 2.5. Either way, this is how I'm going to explain. So this right here is my explanation. All right, you did the work and then you explained it. Does everybody understand what you just did? Tell if you disagree or agree, and then explain why. And it only has to be one simple sentence. All right, your next performance task has 3 parts, giving you some background information at the beginning and then asking you to complete 3 things. It says the common snapping turtle is a freshwater turtle. It can grow to about 1 1/6 feet long. The leatherback sea turtle is the largest of all sea turtles. The average length of a leatherback is about 5 times as long as a common snapping turtle. There's your background. A says draw a diagram to compare the lengths of the turtles, then write an equation to find the length of a leatherback. Explain how the diagram helps you to write the equations. We have lots of things to do. What's the first thing it tells us to do? Draw a diagram. We're going to compare the lengths of the turtles. Then what are we doing? What's the second thing it says? So we have to write an equation. And then we have to... What's the last thing? That's the equation we're going to write. Continue reading through your questions, please. Elena, what's the last thing we have to do? So, explain how the diagram helps you. So, 3 things. Now, is this something we just did? Yep. When we drew our diagrams yesterday, this is exactly what we're going to do here. Okay? So, who can tell me what information from 27 up there before we even have a question we need in our problem? Fred? All right. We need the 1 1/6 feet long. Anything else? Still talking to you, Fred. And also 5 times. Okay. Who can tell me what we're going to draw? Since we have to draw the diagram. Cheyenne, what are we going to draw? Well, it's not a freshwater turtle. What did it call it? Okay, so let's write snapping. And what am I doing for it?
You're going to do 1 box.
Okay.
And put 1 1/6.
All right.
And then you're going to do the common snapping.
Nope, that's the same one. Common snapping turtle we already took care of.
Leatherback.
There you go. Leatherback is the second one. And what are we going to do for it?
You're going to draw 5 boxes.
5 boxes. And what am I putting in those? The 1 1/6 in each one. So when you've done that, you did step 1. You drew a diagram. Okay. The next part says to write an equation. You can tell me what the equation is going to be. Ian?
5 times 1/6.
So 5, not just 1/6.
1 1/6.
1 1/6. So 5 times 1 1/6. Now, if you remember yesterday, we drew this little line under here to tell me that this is going to be feet long, right? So we probably should put F equals 5 times 1 1/6. That way we know what we're getting when we're finished. Okay. Now, what do we have to do to 1 1/6 before we can do anything else? Chase, what do we have to do to 1 1/6?
Turn it into a mixed fraction.
No, not a mixed fraction. It's either a fraction or a mixed number. Which one?
Mixed number.
It's already in a mixed number. So what do I have to
Into a
turn
fraction.
into? Thank you. So I'm going to turn 1 1/6 into a fraction. How do I do that?
6 times 1.
Okay, and I get?
6
Then what?
plus 1 equals 7.
Okay, so I'm taking 5 times what?
5 times
What'd you just get?
7, 6.
Thank you, 7 6. So 5 times 7 6. When I multiply that, what do I get, Kennedy? When I multiply that, I get?
35, 6.
Okay, 35 6. And then I always have to turn that back into a mixed number, so I'm going to get 1. And what am I going to get?
5 and 5, 6.
5 with 5, 6 left over. Do we agree?
Yes.
Okay, so that was the equation. Now it says to explain how the diagram helps you to write the equation. So we drew the diagram first, and then we wrote the equation. How does that diagram help us to write that equation? Aiden?
It helps show us like how many times we have to multiply and what we have to multiply the how many times.
So basically how many numbers I'm going to use, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it shows how many numbers, I'll let you use the little number symbol, I'm kind of shoving everything in here. It shows how many numbers I need to multiply. When you drew your 5 boxes, you know you're going to use that 5 to multiply times the 1 and 1/6 from the first turtle. So about how long is that leatherback sea turtle? What did we come up with? 5 and 5, 6. What's our label? Feet. Always go back and check to see what your label is. What is it measured in? Okay. So that was exactly what we did yesterday. Any problems with it? Okay. C. A loggerhead sea turtle is about 3 times as long as the common snapping turtle. How long is the loggerhead? And explain your answer. So here's your question. This time I'm using how many times? 3 times. And what other turtle do I need to be using?
Snapping.
The snapping turtle, which is what number up here? Still the 1 and 1/6, right? So I'm going to put 3 in here so we know that we're using it for it. Okay? So, what's my equation going to be? Do I have to draw a diagram this time? Does it tell me I need to? Okay, so I don't have to. Can I do it without the diagram? All right, so who can tell me my equation then? Morgan, what's my equation this time?
3 times 1 and 1/6.
Okay, so 3 times 1 and 1/6. I'm going to turn 3 times 1 and 1/6 into 3 times what? How do I turn 1 and 1/6 into a fraction? Ian, how do I do that?
You 6 times 1 equals 6 over 1 times 7, 6.
Okay, so I'm taking 3 times 7, 6, which gives me a total of what, class?
21/6.
21/6, and I'm turning that into a mixed number, which gives me 3.
And 3, 6.
Is that in simplest form?
Or
3 and 1/2. Good. So this is going to be your answer we're looking for. I will tell you on your test, you must have everything in simplest form. So always do it. That way it's not an option. If you always put things in simplest form, you should always have the correct answer. Some of you didn't do so well on your last test, and most of it was because we didn't put things in simplest form. That's a silly way to miss them. Okay? You did all the hard work, and then what'd you forget to do? Put it in simplest form. So always remember, if it can go in simplest form, we need to be doing that. Okay, so we worked it out. We know how long the loggerhead snapping turtle is. It's actually 3.5 feet, because we're still measuring in feet, but we have to explain our answer. Okay? So what did we do, basically? Let's just explain what we did. We multiplied the length of what? What did we already know? The length of the snapping turtle with what?
with a